Actually, I was gaslit. I was like many women out there, told I'm normal, my labs were normal, everything is normal, but I'm vomiting with my periods. You know what I mean? And so I actually diagnosed myself.
You see this commonly. All the labs are normal, doctor, but I'm not feeling the same.
All the time, all the time. Probably 90% of the patients. That is because all of the labs that we have are based on research of disease.
I've been practicing for 46 years and I've seen these ranges changes completely. We have a wonderful opportunity today. We have Dr. Radha Sinha in our studio, and she is an amazing naturopathic physician, also acupuncturist. She has studied functional medicine and one of the greatest naturopathic physician in our area. She is practicing in Kirkland. I've known for many years since her actually student days, and we have amazing relationship. Radha, we have, you've been seeing patients for many years now. How many years now? In almost 10 years?
Private practice, 10 years.
10 years, yeah. 10 years in practice. And so you see this commonly. All the labs are normal, doctor, but I'm not feeling good.
All the time, all the time. Probably 90% of the patients. And that is because all of the labs that we have are based on research of disease, right? So they're just looking at if you have a pathology, then it's going to be out of range, right? So most of my patients come and they're in range. I mean, a lot of them are out of range too because they have overt disease, but people who have been dismissed are completely, functionally out of range, but not out of range within a disease pattern.
I've been practicing for 46 years and I've seen these ranges changes completely because previously the cholesterol is the biggest example. The highest normal was 300. Then to adjust it for the pharmaceutical purposes, they lowered it down. The white cell count was to be more slightly lower. Now they're more higher.
Same as thyroid.
Thyroid, exactly. So I think as if I know correctly, a lot of those normals have changed in front of my eyes. And eosinophils is another example which has changed a lot in the normal and not being, because what the data house collected is they take 1,000 patients, and they ask them question, do you have any issues? They say no, I don't have any health issues, and those are considered as a norm, and they set for rest of the population.
And also they're all metabolically inflexible, and so then they're doing research on that and then putting it in double-blind placebo, but not considering the whole person. And so that's why these ranges are. And it's not that you shouldn't consider it, but it's just something that you have to look out for, of who's optimal, who's out of range, and functionally where those labs need to be feeling good.
Yeah. So that is, very, very interesting. So get me through a scenario. A female comes to you and she said, doctor, you work with a lot of hormones. Doctor, my period has been messed up. I get cramps during my cycle, and I've been to my doctor. He offered me birth control pills. That was the solution he gave me, but I don't want to be on birth control pills. I'm young, and I have also read there's lots of side effects of this stuff. And another common scenario is, okay, get you IUD, a Mirena, or a hormonal IUD. So what do you look at that patient and what do you do for that patient?
I think it depends on the age. Obviously, if it's a much younger patient, then we want to look at what are their goals? Why are they having cramping? Usually, when I look at hormones, I'm looking at four things: the communication between the brain and all of the different endocrine organs, right? The actual, how is the organ functioning? How is the receptor functioning? And then how is the gut detoxification, liver, gallbladder, how is that functioning? Because all of those factors are what helps us be balanced in hormones. So if you're looking at a young person, then I'm looking at all of those things and then telling them, okay, birth control is not necessarily, it's just a Band-Aid for what we want to cover up of the pathology that's happening or the symptom that's happening. But we want to look at where in those four things is it going wrong. And usually when I balance it, they're fine. Now, when you're in perimenopause, menopause, totally different story, right?
Exactly.
But even then, I don't recommend birth control, right? Because it's a synthetic estrogen, synthetic progesterone. Those are completely different molecular structure.
Very different.
Very different, differently processed through the liver. And when you're in perimenopause, menopause, I'm still looking at those 4 factors, but I'm also looking at much more restorative things to do for them. And then if I have to go to bioidentical hormones, which this day and age, you always kind of have to, because we're also stressed out, our whole food supply is full of endocrine disruptors and everything like that. So we want to make sure, everyone that's very, very symptomatic, you have to help them, right?
Yes.
In the beginning, while you work on the underlying causes. So of course, a 20-year-old is going to be different than a 30-year-old, then it's going to be different than a 40-year-old, then it's going to be different than a 70-year-old. But you're still looking at all those factors, and their just treatments are going to be different.
Yeah.
In none of those cases do I recommend birth control, obviously, unless you are looking for pregnancy protection.
Walk me through. We talked about the receptors already, that these xenoestrogens, the foreign estrogens will sit on a receptor, and you're not going to have the receptor work with the real thing when the body needs it. What you can do to clean these things up?
There are a lot of different things that you can do. You can do chelation.
Yeah.
You can actually, which is you use different types of enzymes to actually pull the metals and the plastics out of you. You can use iodine. Obviously, please do this with a physician who knows how to do it. You can also do lots of chlorella. It depends on the person. You want to be able to clear your gut. You want to have bowel movements. You want to sweat. I think sweating is number one. Every single person nowadays in our environment has to sweat 5 times a week.
And we have so much taboo against sweating in our culture, because sweating is not going to be armpit, it's going to be a little smelly, but that is a real good thing. That's how the mother nature, that's one of the 3 major detoxification pathways we have. Like you poop it out, you urinate, and you ooze through the skin. And we are blocking that. People put a lot of those deodorants. One of the worst things which you can do.
Absolutely.
And I think there is a Swedish study on people who go sauna, I think 3 days a week or 5 days a week. They have way less heart attack, way less cancer.
And not just your inflammation, but all of those toxins are being sweat out, because some of them do get accumulated in the fat, and then there's other fancier ways to get them out. But the chelation, all of these, the basic foundation is hydration with good water, sweating, good
electrolytes,
food, minerals, so iodine, selenium, chromium, all of those things.
And you need in micro dosing. You don't need too much. Small,
depends,
very, very small amount will do the sufficient job.
Yeah, because I actually see women now, so many more younger women are coming in with progesterone allergy. So they're actually allergic to their own hormone. So they can't even take it because the receptors are so blocked.
Walk us through the one other interesting factor which we are lacking in our today's food is fiber. Fiber is so, because there is the estrobolome, how the xenoestrogens can be bound in your gut by the fiber. Fiber does, it's also, liver is processing your hormones, and your gut bacteria is changing it. So can you just elaborate on that one?
Yeah, so we have specific gut bacteria that actually breaks down the different hormones, the different estrogens that we have, not just estrogen, testosterone, everything, right?
Yes,
we have 3 different types of estrogens, and especially we want to break down that estradiol, which is the most potent one. And there's certain gut bacteria, there's also genetics that you have to either have good enough of that or not enough of that. If you're constipated, and then you need gallbladder, you need the bile to then go into the colon to be able to interact with all of those gut bacteria that are there helping us break down those estrogens and hormones to then eliminate it through the colon. So it's a fine dance between pancreatic enzymes, the gallbladder, then going into the small intestine, then going into the large intestine to be able to then get it out. If you are not, binding all of that with fiber, like psyllium husk, inulin, apple pectin, everyone's kind of different with their, but you have to have motility. Not even just fiber, right? If you have a ton of fiber and you're not having enough motility and not enough gallbladder function, because that's phase 3 detoxification, then you're not going to be able to get it out.
Okay, walk me through a scenario. Now you got a perimenopausal female who has a hormonal issues. What do you do for that?
Well, it depends on if they have any disease or anything. What I always foundationally look at is how are their organs communicating with each other, right? Or is the brain communicating with the thyroid, with the ovary, with the adrenal? If that's not happening, that's what I work on first. And of course, with perimenopause, you always have to work on supporting the thyroid and the adrenal glands.
Yes, that's
Always,
yes,
always, because the
yeah,
adrenals are
yeah,
taking
yeah,
over for the ovaries that are fluctuating with estrogen and
yeah,
everything like
yeah.
that. And of course, we live in a stressed out world. And so
Oh, yeah.
everyone needs to be supported on that level. Then again, I look at what is their lifestyle, all of the pesticides and chemicals and everything. I clean that up. The number one thing I also look at is infection. So I've had so many women,
Teeth.
with parasitic infections and Lyme infections or anything like that. When you clean that up, actually the hormonal system gets better because inflammation gets better.
Yeah.
So I'm always looking at their inflammation, because in perimenopause and menopause, that is when autoimmunity comes about, because
Exactly.
the hormones are then fluctuating. They're not buffering, all of the immune system. And so we need to be able to deal with all of those infections,
Yeah.
so that the hormones can actually balance, inflammation can go down.
Yeah.
And then I'm always looking at the mitochondria,
Yeah, exactly.
because as we go into the perimenopause and menopause, that also declines, and we have to have that for good immunity and balanced hormones.
Exactly. So, very interesting. In my clinic, we have at least, I think, 50 or 60 pairs who got pregnant and who has done Swift gift programs. They have never been, they were not successful in getting pregnant with all these high expensive treatments.
Mm-hmm.
And when they came to our clinic, we cleaned their body, we did a panchkarma on them, and we watched for all the hormone, thyroid, and kept the value between 2. And they were given synthroid previously, and we changed it to the armor thyroid, which has a T3 and T4. And when we give them a little bit of iodine, boom, they got pregnant. So I think very simple things, clicking can change the whole stuff there.
Yeah, and when you look at the micronutrients, if you look at the labs, you can even find out from just simple labs what your nutrient status is, not just, everything, your MCV, all of that.
Mhm.
You can look at, the thyroid is huge and adrenals are huge in perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah. So let's talk about, the natural hormone replacement. I think one of the time you said, the females are about hormones. You said that statement one day. Actually, I think even male too, is about hormones.
Oh, absolutely. Both men and women, we all foundationally need hormones.
Hormones, yeah.
Not to just be somewhat healthy and to prevent disease, but to have motivation, to have balanced mood, to have joy in life. You have to have stable hormones.
Normals, yeah. And in Ayurvedic medicine, we have a full branch which actually was making hormone balancing strategies, and that was called Bajikarna. So Rasayana and Bajikarna. Rasayana is immune boosting treatment, and Bajikarna is hormone balancing. So there was a lot of strategies, herbs, lifestyle, which like if you do squatting, your hormones, you naturally, because your thighs become your hormone factories. And so those are, and we are sitting on a chair these days.
Yeah.
We're not doing the natural way of squatting. So naturally we are dropping our hormones more. Yeah.
But also because of insulin, right?
Insulin,
The biggest muscle that actually helps your insulin and your blood sugar are your thighs and your leg muscles.
And your calf.
Exactly.
Yeah. Actually, there was an interesting study in India where they were looking at the seamsters who were using with the hand machine and the foot paddle machine. Foot paddle machine guys has absolutely no diabetes in them, because they are activating that calf muscles and thigh muscles all the time.
Absolutely.
So simple.
Yeah, and you can't have balanced hormones without having balanced blood sugar. Whether that's too low or too high, it's always, all these hormones have to have the Goldilocks middle of the road.
Insulin resistance has become the buzzword these days. Like everybody has that, and you can see it miles away. When your skin has those dark spots, your neck is getting black, and and your belly there, you all have insulin resistance. So talk to me about what these females should do who are into menopause, and what kind of hormone support, how you start with it. Like I will tell you my way, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, so in menopausal, when a menopausal woman comes to me, I don't just pile on bioidentical hormones, right? Of course, bioidentical hormones
Just
are
like
huge.
slapping something,
Right,
without looking
it's
at the root
not.
cause.
And that's a lot of what functional medicine does these days. These longevity clinics, they're just slapping on
Oh my
hormones
God,
without looking
I've
at
seen those, the
inflammation,
pallets of,
yeah, yeah. And I use those, but after I've cleaned it up, right? I look at inflammation, I look at infection, I'm looking at toxicity, all of those things. And the people that I do pellets or bioidentical hormones with, they need a lot less than what is really out there.
yeah.
And so when a menopausal woman comes to me, I always am looking at foundational. I'm always talking to her about her diet. I'm talking about all these chemicals. I'm looking at her environment, if she's exposed to anything in the house, which we all are. Gas. I've had a patient really exposed to gas and rodents in their
I had
whole,
one patient,
in their,
diesel fumes,
so that's hugely hormonal,
disruptor,
disruptive.
yeah.
So I'm looking at all of that, and then I start with progesterone, right? Of course, if there's a menopausal woman who is like totally bottomed out, then of course I will start with progesterone and testosterone, which is bioidentical, which is identical molecularly to what we used to make.
Yeah.
And you don't go high. Everyone's so different.
Yeah.
Everyone is so different. I have the whole gamut of women who like creams, who are, or troches, but then some women who do need to do pellets because their receptors are not able to actually absorb the cream or the troche, So after you've cleaned all of that up, that is the only time that I will actually consider pellets. And every woman is different.
Exactly.
Some women I see, especially with Lyme disease or severe chronic illness, they need their testosterone to be a little bit higher so they actually function. They can function in life and stuff. Because I think the receptors get so desensitized with that inflammation that then they need a little bit more replacement. But then if you have a super healthy woman, you don't want to go so high because then that you bleed and everything like that. And you don't want that to happen because you don't want that shedding to constantly be happening. That's what causes potential cancers and later on in life. But you always want to be careful. Again, you want to do the foundations of cleanup and liver and gut and all of that. And then I will say that bioidentical hormones changes people's lives, and women have been wrongly taken that away from. And now JAMA has restated that women should have estrogen.
It has a black box warning on it.
Yes,
previously because of the Premarin, basically.
Right.
The horse urine medicine, which is the horses where are impregnated, and then the urine is collected to get the progesterone, which was causing the problem, the cause of the.
And they were doing it on metabolically inflexible. They're giving a synthetic hormone on metabolically inflexible women, and then not looking at their sleep, not looking at what they're eating, not looking at what their chemicals are and all of that stuff. And so it's very safe to do it when you're doing it properly.
Yeah. So, one thing which I certainly metabolically, to make it balanced, insulin resistance is the biggest issue with this. And one simple thing which I'll ask my patient to do is add fiber, 30 grams of fiber. So like a 30 grams doesn't sound like a very big amount. I'm not asking here to put like the inulin or those things, but I'm talking about real food fiber.
Real food, absolutely.
Exactly. So 30 grams, just to put perspective there, one apple has a 2.8 grams of fiber. So you have to eat 11 apples worth of fiber a day. So start slowly, maybe start adding 1 cup of leafy greens, kale, chard, mustard greens,
absolutely.
and 1 cup of root vegetable, and then let your body adjust, because gut bacteria is going to say, what happened to this person? All of a sudden there is too much fiber. It's going to make more gas and more bloating, and you're going to become like a farting machine, because the gut bacteria has all of a sudden changing. And so go slow. Maybe next week add another one. Maybe take 2 weeks to add it. So get your own pace. Get to the 4 to 5 cups. You will see a big change, huge change in your. And this doesn't take any medicine, doesn't take any supplement.
Nope.
It's just by changing your nutrition factor.
Yeah, that's foundational.
That's very exactly. And same thing like walking. If you're not walking, we actually in our disease free, we are reminding people to go for walk. I walk every day. Doesn't matter it's the sunshine, and exercise. Those are the foundational. Weight training.
Absolutely.
For of any age.
Yes.
Any age.
Especially perimenopausal, menopausal.
And menopausal too, because now the bone's gonna start collapsing.
No, you have to.
So those are all those wonderful foundational. So without foundation, you cannot even
Think about anything else.
anything else.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now you put a hormone, a herb, or whatever, it's going to work charmingly.
Yeah.
It's going to, the magic is going to be there.
It's going to work for you instead of
Exactly.
against you.
Yeah.
If you didn't have all
Yeah.
of those things.
Let's just talk about peptides, which is also becoming, and you have taken a lot of classes in peptide. Whenever I have a question, I call you, dear, can you tell me what this peptide? Because I have zero knowledge about it. And but so can you walk through just a little bit about the peptides?
Yeah, so peptides are short chain amino acids. They are signaling molecules.
Exactly.
So we already make peptides in our body, like, insulin and all of growth
Those
hormone.
are all peptides.
Those are all peptides in our body.
They work wirelessly.
Right, exactly. And peptides exogenously are made in a compounding lab. You have to have a good lab that is very free of mycotoxins. They go through their whole,
9 yards.
9 yards of actually making it safe.
Yeah.
And they're signaling to the body. So there's many, many different types of peptides that do different types of signaling. There's growth hormone, there's body protective, there is, inflammatory ones, there's thymosin, which is impacting your immune system.
Yeah.
So there's many of them. And the safe thing to do it is to understand why you're doing it, right? You have to understand the pathways that are happening in the body when someone is complaining about their symptoms. If they're complaining about brain fog, let's say, in perimenopause, right? You have to understand, okay, is it something that, you're just going into a room and you're forgetting? Or is it that you're in a meeting and you literally can't think of the word? That could be mitochondrial, that could be blood sugar, that could be something that is estrogen related. So you have to understand which pathway you're manipulating.
Even testosterone too.
Even testosterone, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all about why I got certified in peptide therapy is because these peptides they're very strong and they are very effective when you do them right and you know what you're manipulating.
Yeah.
So they're beautiful because we have them like NAD and all of that stuff. But we can, as we age, as all of our stuff and our chemicals and our substances are impacting our receptors and our different inflammatory pathways, we can use these to then balance our body. And I've seen it be very, very effective in stuck cases where it's not shifting, but we bring in a peptide. And I don't recommend just throwing on 10 peptides like what's happening right now. It's very dangerous.
Yeah.
You don't know which pathway you're going down. You have no clue unless you're really studying it and understanding, if we're going to use growth hormone secretagogues, when do we use them in an appropriate way, right?
Exactly.
Because it can make things grow that you don't want it to grow.
Exactly.
Right? Even BPC, right?
Yeah.
It creates angiogenesis, which means
can also
blood vessels to
other parts of the body too, which can be cancer too. Yes,
right, exactly. So if you have something not so good in your body and you don't know about it, it can be detrimental. But on the other hand, I've seen people turn around from long COVID with peptides because we're working at a mitochondrial level. We're working at an anti-inflammatory level with AMPK pathways and different pathways that I won't get into. Yeah. But very, very effective. You just don't have to really understand how to use it. Just like anything, just like herbs, but these are very strong.
Yeah.
So definitely understand how to use them.
Great. So I have one last question for you. Your mother is a pediatrician. And I think she must have pushed you or wanted you to go into regular medical school.
Yeah.
And you chose to come to a naturopathic school and then do acupuncture degree on top of it. Why did you do that?
Yeah, actually, my whole family is in medical. Both my grandfathers were MD, PhDs, and I just obviously grew up around conventional medicine my entire life. And I saw the limitations. And there's wonderful things about conventional medicine. It saves your life when you need it. And I really wanted to work on, before you get a disease, all the millions of things that you can do that to even get there. I really wanted to work on the chronic illness that's rampant in our culture.
Exactly.
And so I just saw the limitations of that as
so
all the
you
time.
revolted against that. And
and also because personally, I have endometriosis. I struggled with my gut for a
I
very,
know
very
that.
long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And conventional medicine did not give me answers.
Any answers
Actually,
for
I was gaslit. I was like many women out there, told I'm normal, my labs were normal, everything is normal, but I'm vomiting with my periods.
I
You know what
know.
I mean? And so I actually diagnosed myself. So I really actually came into this to heal myself and then to help other, especially women who are struggling and told that they're totally normal when there's something very wrong. I've diagnosed so many women like this because no one is listening to them,
Exactly.
so it's a very personal reason why I also
Exactly.
went in, because they didn't have the answers for me. And so
Exactly.
I am a seeker of knowledge. And so I always wanted
I
to
know that. You every
understand
weekend you're somewhere, some
somewhere.
class you're doing that. I know that. So one thing, and I have another thing which I want to talk to my viewers out there. If you follow the laws of Mother Nature, but that means you wake up early in the morning, hit the sun, look at the sun. In the midday, you hit the sun again. At night, you hit the sun again. So 3 times, because you are also signaling differently. Your peptides, your hormone. It's a drama. It is, nobody knows yet how this drama is orchestrated.
Yep.
But if you look at the Mother Nature, it's functioning.
Absolutely.
If we eat the seasonal fruits, vegetables, there is also signals coming from that one.
Oh,
Huge.
Yeah, DNA changing.
Exactly, everything.
Absolutely.
So I think if we follow the laws of Mother Nature, a lot of these diseases will cut down bare minimum.
Yeah.
And we should be all living happily on this planet.
Yeah.
I really want to thank you, Radha, for
Thank
coming
you.
here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you.